timelier now more than ever. Through inspiration and action, this book provides the thirsty reader with a greater understanding of how we, as individuals, can positively affect change for ourselves and our collective humanity. I am Lois Herman, the author of Chronicles of Hope and the host of the Inspiring Hope radio show on Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. You can find me at loisherman.com.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Welcome to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman, a leading expert in professional coaching, clinical hypnosis, and energy clearing. Lois is an award-winning author of Chronicles of Hope. She has decades of experience in advanced hypnosis techniques, has conducted highly effective success coaching programs that have helped clients discover ways to achieve success, empower themselves, their families, as well as holistic practitioners to expand their practices. Get ready to be empowered with your host, Lois Herman.
Good morning and welcome to Inspiring Hope. I am your host, Lois Herman, and I'm here to inspire you with positive messages and celebrate people who are making a difference in our world. When we focus our thoughts and energies on truth, honesty, and integrity, we create powerful shifts that cause us to be more positive and peaceful. As we lift our energy, we empower everyone around us. If we each do what we can to make small shifts in awareness, we create ripples of hope. Join us as catalysts for positive change for our families, our communities, and our world at large. I hope you're inspired by today's show. And today I want to talk about the many phases we go through in our life. There's active, busy, creative phases, followed by slower, introspective, and reflective ones. Energy ebbs and flows in our lives like a sine wave. This is by divine design, and it's perfect. Often, waves of change are brought about based on shifts in relationships to people, pets, homes, or jobs. We all experience loss in a multitude of ways. Whether we grieve from death, divorce, or friends drifting away, we process our emotions based on a sense of void, an emptiness in our lives that must be recognized, allowed, and embraced before it can be refilled. Grief can be felt at the loss of a job or career as we transition from one phase of life to another. I'm reminded of having moved more than 30 times in my life across countries and continents, both homes and offices. The closure of one home with the emptying of the contents allows one to let go of less needed items and causes one to reflect on what is important, what should be kept as precious and vital for the next phase of life. As we transition from the past, we strive to prepare an opening for future possibilities and opportunities. Last year, the closing of my lovely office space created a tear in my heart, mourning the enormous energy and focus I had placed on growing a business to be of service to others and the deep passion I held to save humanity through the messages shared in the Chronicles of Hope book series. Though I have thoughtfully transitioned into my wonderful home office, the intense sadness over the loss of such a powerful ideal tends to surface on occasion. Last month, the combined losses of my complex 90-year-old mother, followed by celebrating the passing of two dear spiritual friends, two sisters, and my sweet 16-year-old boy cat, has been very heartfelt. Grieving these subsequent losses has stimulated an introspective journey into what is important to cherish in my life. Mourning the memories of these wonderful people and pets has stirred in me the need to clear painful thoughts through understanding and embrace the positive, hopeful, inspired moments as treasures to hold dear. People and pets come and go in our lives. Mourning their loss has always been very painful for me. As change happens, some individuals transition to different states of awareness and move along divergent paths. I am grateful that special people always seem to fill the void from those who imprinted memories as they pass. As we feel the emotions attached to these shifts, let us embrace new opportunities to start over, to redirect ourselves into who we choose to be, without striving to be someone or something for another person. Instead, let us simply be who we are for our own higher purpose and for the meaning we hold for those who cherish us just as we are. Take time to heal any loss you may encounter in your own way. Surround yourself with friends who truly support you on your journey, those you can trust with honesty and your vulnerability. Discover the simple joy of being immersed in nature, surrounded by birds and bees, flowers and trees. Reach out to special healing professionals who may be of service to help you process your thoughts and your emotions, that you may come through to a much stronger, wiser, and more compassionate version of yourself. In a few minutes, we'll be joined by Marie Ellison, an incredible animal communicator and intuitive coach who embraced her own gifts at the closing of one chapter of her life and the opening of another. Now, on the other side, she coaches many who are grieving on their healing journey through communicating with animals. In the Chronicles of Hope series, the spirit of our earth, Gaia, once described herself as the sum of all consciousness on the planet. She told us that all living things are part of her. She is the life, the energy of the planet. And as such, she feels and expresses what all other living creatures are feeling, from plants and animals to humans. She is the life force that lives in, on, and around all of nature, and she feels it all. We are in times of intense emotional upset on our planet right now, and she's feeling it, and many of us are feeling it too. Because humans do retain the instincts of all of their ancestors, not just human or pre-human, but all of the instincts from all the animals in the evolutionary chain. At times like these, adverse conditions in human life can damage the mental, emotional parts of the body, creating a poisoned effect that incites conflict between the spiritual self and the individual self. This inner dissonance can cause damage to the individual, resulting in self-loathing and hate and anger. Many humans become insane from this internal struggle, which is prevalent in society today. Additionally, our technological environment causes individuals to develop under too much pressure, which can produce inner discord, also resulting in misdirected anger. People don't really know why they're angry, and so they direct their hatred at unrelated targets, including other humans, animals, or our planet. We must learn to heal the pain of the past and embrace the beauty in all we have now, this day. This is an important lesson. Mother Earth gives us food, water, shelter, and so much life. Native Americans and other earth-based cultures show us what we need to see. This is fun. Hold on just for a second. And so today we are going to celebrate all life that's in and on and around us by being here with a wonderful, wonderful person. We must realize, find ways to embrace the energy of nature in all living things of this earth. As we honor living plants, animals, water, land, and air, we come into harmony with the essence of all that is. Discovering the balance of nature, we must teach our children to spend more time exploring outside and connecting with animals instead of having their heads stuck in technology. We must find ways to break the cycle of toxicity we're exposed to by the way of what we watch, listen to, eat, drink and receive via medication or injection. Nature is our greatest healer. When we hold ourselves accountable and responsible for taking care of ourselves and the land that we're blessed to live on, we come to realize the importance of choosing to be alive on this most beautiful planet we call Earth, surrounded by the energy of our plants, animals, and fellow humans. Animals can be very intuitive about spiritual activity, and sometimes people's beloved animals are around them, bringing comfort. Our pets are wonderful sources of peace, calmness, and serenity. Many are powerful healers in themselves and give us messages on a regular basis. If we open our minds to listen to the sounds beyond our hearing, we must protect the forests for our children, grandchildren, and children yet to be born. We must protect the forest for those who can't speak for themselves, such as birds, animals, fish, and trees. That is from Quetsinas, from the Nuxalk Nation. Sounds of Silence. You are listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman at WSMN 1590.live or 95.3 FM. Please help us share these messages. Watch the videos on my YouTube channel or website, loisherman.com, and join our Hope community for ongoing support and inspiration at chroniclesofhope.net. Today's very special guest has embraced her mission in life through the closing of one special door and her awareness of the opening of another. Through communicating with a very special horse, Marie Ellison has become an animal communicator and intuitive coach. She helps others to process grief and gain awareness through the powerful intuitive connection with animals. She even blessed me with a poignant message from my beloved Mr. Cat, Mr. Whiskers. She let me know he is fulfilling his mission, continuing to assist us in many ways. Good morning, Anna Marie. Are you there?
Good morning, Lois.
Hello, hello.
How are you today?
I am good. I'm having fun with Mercury retrograde as my printers aren't working, technology's not working. And then it's like life is about plan B, C, and then sometimes D surfaces.
Definitely, yes. Yes.
So you know about that, right?
Oh, absolutely. I feel that. I feel like been in a constant state of Mercury retrograde for like a solid year is how I feel. just like as soon as I'm coming out of it, going right back in, it's like, okay, just we need a little breather here in between, please.
Exactly. At least it's beautiful outside. The sun is shining. We have no snow here. And
Yes,
it's
that's a bonus.
That's right. The flowers are in bloom. The trees and shrubs are all glorious this year. So we have to cherish the things we can so that we can sail through the things that bring us challenge.
Definitely.
So tell us a little bit about your background. You have a fabulous, fascinating, heartfelt story, and I'd love for you to share whatever you feel comfortable sharing.
Sure. It's funny because every time I share this story, I feel like a little bit more opens up for me as far as like I see something that happened even previous to this story that I'm like, oh, that's part of it too. Like that had to line up. But so I guess the biggest shift for me that really started me on this new path that you kind of talked about earlier a little bit ago, how, sometimes grief can send you in a new direction, right?
Yes.
So my husband passed away almost 4 years ago. He was diagnosed with a very severe and rare form of cancer that unfortunately took him from me very, very quickly. And in that time of losing him, I went through a huge transformation for myself of just, I felt a shift happening. I didn't know what was happening, but I knew the shift was coming even before he got diagnosed. And then once he got diagnosed, I kind of had a better understanding of what was happening. But so he trained racehorses. And so part of our life together was being with horses constantly all day, every day. It was 24/7, together and with the horses and traveling and things like that. But when he passed away, I couldn't take care of myself very well. So there was no way I was going to be able to take care of 20 horses. So I had to liquidate the business and rehome all the horses and everything. So that was very challenging for me to have to give all of that up. But essentially what it did for me was create this space for me to be able to choose to be anything I wanted to be and do anything I wanted to do. And so I just listened. I took time with the horses that I still was interacting with because I was doing Reiki with horses at the time. And so I was still doing that with my clients. But I took almost 2 years really to find where my heart was taking me, where the universe was taking me. And where it brought me was in that time, I developed my animal communication skills. I listened to the intuitive messages that were coming through from the animals that I was working with. One of our horses, Hercules, his name is Celebrity Hercules. He was one of our favorite race horses. And he was a horse that was rehomed. And he came back to me. It's about 9 months after my husband passed away. He was really a huge catalyst in me seeing where my life was going and helping me get some focus and some healing. And I know that Jim sent him back to me because, we did have a special bond with Hercules, the two of us. So I know that was a sign for me that I was in the right direction. And he really, I say it all the time, that Hercules really saved my life because he got me out of bed every day. I might not leave the house for days before I got him. And the only reason I would leave is because I would have to go get food or something, But when he came to me, I was at the barn every day, and I would go and I would just spend hours with him and just being with him. I mean, I would just go and I would get my blanket and lay out in the pasture and just be present with him. And he would find ways to communicate to me while I was out there. I mean, I was so heavy in my grief, and I would sit out there and just cry and cry and cry sometimes. And he would just come over and stand with me and just hold that space for me and just let me get it all out. And I remember one particular day I was reading a book out there, and the book was about a woman who had lost her husband. And so I was relating deeply to what she was talking about. And I was just crying as I'm reading this book, and I must have been crying for an hour as I'm reading it. Hercules, he's watching me, he's looking at me every little while. He's like, analyzing me. He's kind of looking up, like, what's going on over there? Like, what are you still doing, And so eventually he came over and he just stood and stared at me, like straight on stared at me, dropped his head. And, I'm like, what's going on, buddy? And I'm still crying, trying to suck the tears in and everything. And he looks at me and he takes my book. And I'm like, oh, that's so funny. He's taken my book. And so I go to grab my phone to take a picture. And as I snap a picture, he flings the book as far as he can throw it. But he was giving me a message, right? He was telling me, all right, enough. Like, you've been sitting here crying an hour over that book. Stop reading the book already, right? So, our animals will find a way to help us to shift things that are happening with us, help us find healing, help us find a new perspective, teach us how to be better versions of ourselves just by being in this present moment. Animals, they don't live in the past. They don't live worrying about the future. They're very present here right now, and enjoying the beauty and the support of everything around them in this moment. And they're really trying to teach us that through unconditional love.
It reminds me of a little sign I have in my house that I have hanging on a window that says, "Lord, help me be the person my cat thinks I am."
Yes, absolutely. Because our animals see us through those eyes of unconditional love,
Sure.
right? They don't judge us. They're not trying to ask us to be something that we're not, right? So they know our higher selves, right? They know our divine selves are perfect beings, and we're humans here, and we're here to learn how to be learn how to love unconditionally the way that they do. Mm-hmm. And so they can see us for our divine self. So if we could take a look at ourselves through their eyes, and just see how amazing we are, and love ourselves the way that our animals love us, mm-hmm. and love each other that way, right? The world would be a much better place if we could all kind of have that point of view. But when we can't, our animals are here for us to remind us, and they teach us through their behavior, through their personality, how we can achieve that, how we can work on that, how we can be better people, and be the best version of ourselves really all the time.
Yes. And each animal has their own personality. Like you're talking about Hercules, and you have other horses, but each horse has their own personality, just like I have been known as the cat lady years ago. I had 12 cats. So each of the different cats has their personality, and you get used to, I consider that they teach us. They mm-hmm. train us to be the human that they are wanting to be. So Mr. Whiskers, who has recently gone, over the Rainbow Bridge, I still look for him, because every morning when I get up and go into the bathroom, I would count 1, 1,002, and this little paw would come through the door, boom, he'd open the door and walk in. So I still look for him to do that, and I may always do that. But they are with us always, and in always. And that's what's so special about our animals.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fact that they each have different personalities only helps to assist in us learning different lessons, right? So even Mr. Whiskers, for you, you learned through our reading that the lesson for your husband was different than the lesson for you,
That's
right? But they have this ability to, even the same behavior can be a different lesson for different people in the household or different people in the relationship, because we are different people, right? So my cat, who was peeing in the house for the longest time, it could be the one lesson for me, but it could be a different lesson for my husband, mm-hmm. right? So it just depends on us. They're trying to teach us different things. It could not be, maybe it's not a lesson for him at all, and it's just for me, and that's just how it is, but they have this way of kind of, I don't want to say manipulating, but creating the opportunity for us to learn through their behavior. And it's pretty amazing, pretty magical. And like my horses, I have 3 of them. Each of them has a very different personality. But each one of them has the most amazing and beautiful way of getting through to me and connecting with me. and showing me like, my strengths and where I can work, and what, how they can hold space for me so that I can feel safe to let go and have fun and play and be silly, or just let my emotions come out, or just show how strong I am, right? My little girl, Nikki, I call her a little girl, but she's 25. She's a mare, and she's definitely a lead mare, but she's the sweetest thing ever, but she is strong as nails, she's a fighter every single day. And she reminds me every time I look at her, you're the same. Look at yourself. She tells me that all the time. You tell me how strong I am, but look at you.
Right.
Look at how strong you are. Look at what you've done. Look at what you've created. I created my whole Healed by a Horse equine coaching program because of them. They really helped me find my voice in a lot of ways, and find where I could be the most service to people and help people heal on just a profoundly deep level in ways that I never thought that I was capable of. Just by what they taught me and the healing that they offered me, now I'm able to share that with other people, and it's life-changing. It's absolutely life-changing.
I know personally, I've heard many stories of horses helping to heal. My sister runs a therapeutic riding academy, and has for, I want to say 50 years now. And she has dozens of horses, and so many stories. Horses are very, very amazing in the way that they can connect with humans and teach us and help us to heal. So, in your experience, you now live on a farm with 3 of your horses, and people will come there to your place and spend time with you and with the horses to heal. Is that right?
Yeah, so I do one-day workshops. I do multiple-day workshops. I just got done doing a weekend retreat for somebody where we did equine facilitated coaching one day, and then I teach animal Reiki. So I taught her animal Reiki the next day, so then she had an opportunity to come out and, learn how to do Reiki with animals, which is very different than most people learn how to do Reiki, which is energy healing for humans. The experience with animals is totally different, and with horses especially. But then part of one of the options is actually to have the horses facilitate a Reiki session on a human, which is the most amazing experience ever.
Okay, that is fascinating. I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
One, can you go? I'm a Reiki master teacher as well, and have used Reiki for many, 25 or more years for myself and for my animals. But I would love to hear from you. How is it different using Reiki on animals? That's question 1. And question 2, I want to know more about the horses doing Reiki on humans.
Yeah. So with animals, in a human Reiki session, we often do a hands-on treatment, right? A lot of people, will go down the chakras, or we'll place our hands in different places on the body, where animals don't always want that. They really want you to be present with them, right? They want you to be here in the energetic space. They want to hold that space for you so that the energy can shift in whatever way it needs to, because energy has an intelligence of its own, right? Reiki has an intelligence of its own. It knows where to go, and animals don't need you to put your hands somewhere to tell it something, right? They're going to show you, hey, my hind leg, my right rear is hurting right now. And they'll come and they'll bring that side of them to you to show you, this is where I need it right now. Or they'll come in front of you and they'll drop their head so that you can place your hand on their crown chakra. That's where they need it right now. So they're actually so much more intuitive and responsive to receiving if you can just be present. And it's actually my horse Al that just came back to me back in December. He was the very first horse I ever did Reiki I came home from my first quote unquote human Reiki class, and I was like, I'm going to go do Reiki on Al. You know, I was going to do it on all the horses, but he was the one I started with. And he was amazing. He let me come in there and put my hands all over him. And I'm like, I'm going to do Reiki to you. And then a couple days later, like I was doing it every day. And a couple days later, he's like, yeah, that's not working anymore. I let you do it your way. Now we're going to do it my way. And I'm going to show you what I need.
Wow.
And so he would actually go to the other side. If I would come in the stall to do Reiki to him, he would go to the other side of the stall and just stand in the corner and not look at me. He's like, nope, we're not doing that. And so he slowly taught me, if you just stay here and be present with me, I will show you. I will guide you to what I need.
Wow.
And so it's with all animals that you need to allow them the freedom to come and go in the space, and not, hold them on a lead chain or, cage them or anything like that. Obviously, there are certain situations where safety is an issue, so you have to think about that always. But in birds and things like that, right? But, we want to give them as much freedom as possible so that they have the choice to receive whatever it is they need or nothing at all. And so when Al, I had the opportunity to get Al back with me after not having him for over 3 years, I jumped at the chance because I knew he was my first teacher of animal Reiki, and that he was going to be an important part of our herd and my program. And I'm so lucky to have him back because he is actually probably the most sensitive of my 3 horses as far as Reiki goes. And he is actually we use the term Reiki master very loosely, I would say, right? Because I think as a master, we think we've conquered something. We know everything. And I don't feel like that's an accurate title. I use it because that's what people identify with. They understand that. But I feel like we're all, as humans, we're a work in progress. But I think as for animals, that Al is definitely a Reiki master. And so when the horses will do a session for a human, what I do is I set up the Reiki table, the massage table inside the round pen, and I allow the horses to choose whether they want to come in or not. So the round pen's inside my barn, so they have freedom in the barn, and then they can choose to come in the round pen and come and be with the client or not. And it's pretty amazing because they kind of have it all worked out between them. So they'll take turns, like, okay, you're going to come in first, and you do it this way, and then the next one will come in when you leave, So they'll take their turns. Sometimes there's more than one at a time, but sometimes they will just stand and be present and hold the Reiki space for you. Sometimes the horses will actually show me on the body the places where I need to offer the energy healing for the human. So the horse might go to your heart space and he'll start blowing or puffing, or his mouth will start quivering, and then I'll know that that's a place that the person needs me to send energy healing to.
That's amazing. I know when I do Reiki, oftentimes the cats will come and they'll want to lay with the person or underneath the Reiki table. And I always was thinking, well, the cats love the Reiki. But now again, paradigm shift here. We're always learning. Maybe the cats were coming to participate in helping to heal the client. That's fascinating.
Yes. Well, that actually happened to me in the last session I did, because one of the horses, Al came over and he just basically, he stood over her. He's a big boy, and his long neck, he stood on one side and just draped his entire upper body over the top of my client, and just stood there and held that space and just offered her whatever she needed for, it had to be 7 or 8 minutes. He just stood there and just allowed the energy to flow for her. And then he's like, okay, that was good. And I need to move around, because they need to move around too, to move the energy. You can't force them to stay there, right? So he needs to move. He moved around. And when the cats came in, and the cat jumped up on the table and laid next to her by her arm, and he just sat there and laid there. And then he left, and the next horse came in. It was like, all right, he's just part of the herd right now. So it's pretty awesome how they know. I mean, they're so much smarter than we are in intuitive things. That's how they live their whole life, intuitive based. That's how they survive, is listening to their body, listening to their senses, listening to the environment. The vibration comes through horses' hooves. They feel everything going on around them. And we're so disconnected. I mean, even those of us that are connected, that feel, we've learned a little more and we understand a little more of how this crazy universe works. There's so much more that we're not in tune to, that they are and that they want to teach us about.
That has come through so many times in the messages from the collective, the guides that I have written about in the Chronicles of Hope, and I speak often about on this radio show. They keep telling us we need to get back in touch with nature, the ways of the animals, the ways of the indigenous people, because they were very much in tune with the heartbeat of Mother Earth and celebrating and appreciating all of the energy around us and the cycles, and this is what the animals do intuitively. We have that ability, we just block it with our analytical mind, and we need to, especially during like a phase of grief or reset, to go back into that quiet space, into the silence, and feel and intuit and just know. And therefore, the healing opportunities come as a result.
Yeah. And that was the perfect song you picked earlier, because it really is sitting in what you think are the sounds of silence, and how, like, if you can, part of my day every day, if not multiple times a day, is just going and sitting in the pasture and just sitting and listening to the sounds of silence. And when you actually listen, it's really noisy out there.
Exactly. I am blessed to be surrounded by beautiful, beautiful, huge rhododendron in my garden. And I will go there right now. They're in full bloom and they're glorious. And I'll sit there among the rhododendron, and I'm hearing the buzz of the bees everywhere and the birds. The birds are quite noisy. So we have all these beautiful birds, and when you get into the silence, you hear the energy, you hear the true, the language, the music of nature.
Yes, and it's healing, right? The vibration of all that has the deepest healing effect on you just by sitting and listening. And it actually helps for me. It's one of the ways that I work on building my intuitive skills is I will go out in the pasture and I will close my eyes and just listen to what's going on around me. And if I hear something, getting closer, I ask myself, okay, what direction is that coming from? Or I try to sense what energy I'm feeling near me. And then I can open my eyes and, oh, yes, that was Al. I knew he was standing behind me, because the horses will come over, and sometimes they'll know that I'm being present, and they're like, oh, I like that. Let me go be part of that. So they'll come over. So it's kind of a little game I play with myself of, working on my intuitive skills and building those too, of listening to what's going on around and identifying, where do I feel it in my body? What is it trying to tell me? What information is the wisdom of my body giving me, right? And then the wisdom of the animals around me, whether it's a bird flying by or the bee buzzing in the flowers or the horses standing next to me. It's all information, and there's messages for you if you're open to receiving them.
And that's a large part of it, is being quiet enough to be open to receive. Too many people are in the busy me part, and that was I was talking about the cycles. Yes, it's great to be busy, creative and constructive, and then you've got to have that quiet, that calm it down. A lot of people are so busy that they have a hard time sleeping, and what we have to do is train our mind to, it's time for the silence. It's time for, this is the whole brightness of the day and followed by the quiet of the night. And everything in our world is ebb and flow, is active, passive phase. And when we can tap into the energy of cycles, then we can flow. Instead of being stuck in one energy or not. If you're stuck in the energy of go, eventually you'll burn out. If you're stuck in the energy of low, eventually it becomes a pattern of sadness and depression. So what I find is that we are all cyclical. And as we allow the cycles and not fight the cycles, allow the cycles to flow through us, it causes us to tap into the energy, the frequency, the vibrational frequency, and flow with what is happening in our world.
Yeah. And actually, that's perfect to talk about that. One of the classes that I'm the co-founder of the Intuitive Mastermind Academy, and one of the classes that we teach, are currently teaching, is about self-care and how tapping into the wisdom of that is really important to just learning how to take care of yourself, your body, so that you don't get completely drained, so that you don't, you can sleep at night, and then you're not struggling just to, make it through your day because you're completely depleted. So it's teaching how to notice your body and the environment around you and how it supports you and how you need to listen to take care of it better. The signs are all around you if you can learn how to listen to them and pick up on them. It's really about getting in that space where you can be quiet enough to hear it. And like you said, it's very difficult. It's a very difficult time for a lot of people to find that quiet space. Our minds are constantly going, and even, for me, I struggle with it too. I could sit out in the pasture, and it's great. I get to take a break from the computer and, working all day, but then I go out there and I still got all the things running through my head, and it takes me a while to really get in that quietness of being able to feel the support beneath me, feel the energy around me, get quiet enough that I can start that process of feeling the peace and feeling the healing and nourishing my own body, right? So it's a struggle. It really is. But you don't have to have a horse at home to do those things. Everybody's capable of doing it, whether they have animals or not. It's just giving yourself the compassion and the non-judgmental opportunity to find that for yourself, and don't expect that you're going to be a monk overnight, and being able to find the silence. But our animals are amazing teachers of that, and if we can watch them and learn from them and how they know what they need, and when it's time to be quiet, they're quiet, and when it's time to have a voice, they have a voice. And when they need to be loved on, they'll show you they need to be loved on. And it's always of teaching us, right?
Mr. Whiskers was a very much a love bug, and he had no qualms about reaching right up under your hand and self-petting machine. I want some attention, or jumping right on your lap or on your keyboard. He was always right there. He knew how to ask for attention. And that's what many of us humans don't tend to do. We all need attention. We need affection. We need that touch, especially now that we're kind of coming out of this. In many places where people are coming out of the mask mandates and coming out of the isolation, and touching other people more is going to be a much healthier environment where people can reach out to one another.
Yeah, and I think to me, this last year and plus has been kind of a blessing for a lot of people that I know. While it's very difficult for people who need that constant, need a hug, right? I can understand that completely, but having the space to notice what I need, and without all the busyness around me,
right?
What do I really need? And it's been a great opportunity for some of us to look inside to find that, versus always constantly moving and going and being with people. And just being with yourself is really hard sometimes. But if you can be with yourself, you actually find ways to love yourself a little more, the way that our animals are teaching us to love ourselves, right? And loving yourself, that the phrase, you cannot love anyone else more than you love yourself. And if you cannot find a way to love yourself and be accepting of yourself and your faults and your strengths, all of it, that's where it really all begins. And our animals are willing teachers of that. They're willing to go above and beyond, and endless patience to help us learn those things, by showing us what unconditional love really means.
And I know that when an animal feels low or down or sad, and they do. They have emotions as well. They will kind of,
Mhm.
I talk about dogs will crawl under a porch just to heal, just to get away, just to quiet down, to slow things down, and to allow their body to catch up. And that's what I
Right.
encourage a lot of clients to do, is to take the time to allow the healing to take place instead of trying to force it, push it, medicate it, to take so much action. Sometimes the action for healing is the slowdown, is the getting in
Yeah.
touch with, is the art of allowing the body to do and process what it needs to process. And
Right.
I
Absolutely. You go.
go ahead. Sorry.
Go. I was going to say, you talked about that reflective phase earlier, right? Of being
Mm-hmm.
in this reflective phase of life. And for me, going through that off and on, more in the reflective phase than out of it over the last few years since my husband passed, that's really where the healing happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where you can get quiet enough to feel what's going on in your body, to listen to where you're hurting, where you need the some love, where do you need to send love, where to yourself, and our animals will, just by watching them,
Mm-hmm.
if you just watch periodically throughout the day what your cat or your dog or your horse or bird is doing, they're actually giving you signs of what they're asking of you.
Mm-hmm.
They're either going to mirror something for you that you're doing that, maybe you need to take a second look at, or they're going to model for you, hey, right now, do you see how I've crawled in the closet and I'm kind of hiding? I have my own space.
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving you a message that you need to take some time for yourself right now.
I know we
So
often,
they're constant messages.
and I often would love to know what my animal is thinking, because the cats have these different interesting behaviors that they do, and you just sit there and go, what is she really trying to tell me? And I know that's something that you have developed over time too, that you actually can communicate with the animals, living and past. And that's what I know you did with Mr. Whiskers, which was so wonderful. So can you tell us about that? And then I want to ask you about your book.
Yeah. So our animals, even animals that are crossing over or have crossed over, will find ways to send us messages, to teach us things, right? So it's really about trusting that if you see your animal doing something and you're like, oh, I bet there's a message for me in that. Yeah, there is a message for you in that. So trusting that what you receive as the message is the message. Trust is a really big part of it. And so, if you notice that, every time you come in a room, your cat goes running out, okay, and you stop and think, what is my cat trying to tell me with that every time I come in the room, he's leaving? Now, obviously, we want to come from a place of our authentic self, right? We're not going to go into that false self voice of, my cat hates me, he never wants to be around me, I'm a terrible person. Our animals never give us messages like that. Our animals will never give us messages based on that false self voice. They're not going to feed that ego that creates negativity. They will never do that for us. But what they will do is say, hey, you know what, your energy right now is way off, and I need to leave because your energy is too strong, or it's too low. And so this is a message for you that if I'm leaving because you're coming in, that you're coming in the space with an energy that is upsetting to me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a way to help you to notice kind of what's going on with you. So if you see your animal doing a behavior that is not normal, or that's sparking an emotion in you, or creating, it's either going to create a really positive emotion or a negative emotion. So if it gets you going in either direction, there's a lesson in that behavior. So that's an opportunity to sit and just take a moment to be quiet and ask, hey, what are you trying to teach me with this? And just pause and listen and see what comes through for you, because we're all capable of hearing the intuitive messages. You don't have to be a quote unquote animal communicator to get the messages from our animal. You just really have to trust that what you're receiving is the answer.
And paying attention. I
And
think it's more about paying attention, and
it
then
is.
allowing the message to intuitively come and not dismiss it when we do have the intuitive knowing.
Yes, it is.
So what would you suggest to others to stay upbeat and inspired in this crazy time we're living in right now?
For me, it's really finding joy in the little things, right? Finding little ways to get excited. Get outside and notice the birds. Notice the beauty that's all around you. You don't have to go far to do it. Even if you're stuck at your desk all day long, find something that really is just for a second where you can get in your heart space and just feel the support that's around you from your animals, from your loved ones, from the chair beneath you. That's all you can think of. But just finding gratitude in that is one of the biggest ways that, for me, finding gratitude is where joy gets sparked for me and inspiration, because then I want more of that, right? And I think if we can find more opportunities to notice the beauty around us and just get out, get out of your normal box, your routine, and look for something that's different. Breathe in the fresh air, even if it's only, on your balcony, if you live in the city, or if you have to step into the elevator to get some space. You can find it anywhere, but it's noticing beauty everywhere, all
And
around
being
you.
grateful for all that we have, because the
Yeah,
more gratitude we have, the more we attract more of the same to us.
yeah,
So,
absolutely.
tell us a little bit about your ebook, Animal Gurus of Self-Care. Tell us we have just a few
Yeah,
minutes left. Please tell us about your book.
yeah. So this book actually um, came to me with the help of my cat trotter who recently passed, and I'm feeling the emotion of that right now because he was a very special cat for me. He actually belonged to my husband before he belonged to us. So losing him was difficult for me. But when he was diagnosed earlier this year, they gave him a week or two to live, and he ended up living an extra 7 weeks. And through that time, he actually taught me about self-care in a really major way. He's like, I'm not going yet because we're not done with our work here. And he was giving me all of this information that needed to be shared. And so it ended up turning into a little ebook. It helped me develop the classes that we were working on. And so this book is really about how we can notice the ways that our animals, it's like 10 ways our animals are showing us to take better care of ourselves. So it's a fun, easy read book that, again, you don't have to be an animal communicator to get the messages, but it's a helpful way to notice some of the things that our animals are doing to help teach us to take better care of ourselves and to love ourselves.
And Anna Marie, how do people find you and your book and your courses?
Yeah, so you can go to AnnaMarieEllison.com, and on my website, there is a link to my Healed by a Horse program. There's a link to the Intuitive Mastermind Academy where you can get a copy of the ebook or sign up for any of the classes that we're currently teaching. You can email me and find out all about my intuitive coaching, which I do a lot of intuitive coaching online and over the phone. You don't actually have to come here in person to receive coaching. And my animal communication as well is on there.
Wonderful. And you said you had a favorite quote.
Yes, my favorite quote is, "You will be okay, not the same, but okay. Not you, but still you." And it resonates with me of the process of grief that I went through of, I'm never going to be that same person again, and that's okay. But I'm still going to be me. I'm just going to be a new, better version of me.
A new
And
version,
I have the choice to
yes.
choose. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much, Anne Marie, for what you do in life and for all that you're doing to help other people. And I'm thankful for you to be on the show and thankful for the listeners who are listening. And until next week, I invite you to look up, stay positive, and be the light in someone's day. God bless.